maybe just don't. All right, here we go. Welcome all you wrestling fans to the 24th episode of the Pop-Up Powerbomb podcast. I'm your host, the Moon Man, and my partner in crime, the Cerebral Pineapple Powerbomb Paul, will be in the building very shortly. We had a new start time tonight for tonight. Had a few errands to run. We're here, we're beginning. But tonight, wrestling fans, of course, we share our thoughts. Some very interesting topics that have been taken over the wrestling world the last week, including discussing the events of the 2024 Royal Rumble event. We also look into the turmoil and drama around Dirty Vince McMahon. Yeah, he's in a world of trouble. We look ahead at the road to Wrestlemania and more. I've got my coffee here. I hope you all got yours, or a nice cold beverage and snacks. So I hope everybody is ready for some story time, and let's get it kicking. Already in the chat, I see the Rockin' One, of course. Always good to see you in here. Back from the dead. Great to have you in here, brother. Oh, look, Bushy's in the building. What's up, big dog? What's up, Bushy? I see you. Good to have you, bro. Don't forget, of course, hit that like button, share this out. It's always great help. Of course, as I say at the top and the end of the show, if you haven't subscribed to the 4GQ TV channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell to get notified when we all go live. A lot of great content creators on here on the channel, apart from myself. And there's amazing interviews, one-on-one women's podcast. And 4GQ podcast, which happens, of course, on Thursday. No, check that out. But I'm going to go and start into discussing, obviously, the first topic of the evening. Again, Paul will be here if not distracted. I haven't seen his link. Oh, here he is. Speak of the devil, and the devil shall appear. I love it. A pineapple powerbomb, Cerebral One himself's in the building. What's good, Paul? Have I got you, brother? Max, is he back on? Yo. He'll speak in a minute. He's going to have a lot to say, so he'll speak once his mic's in tune. Oh dear. But anyway, first topic of the evening. The Dirty Vince drama. My oh my. As this man got himself in a world of trouble. Court case and Shores. Brock Lesnar's been name dropped.
What about now?
Oh, there he is. Hello. We got you now. I can hear you.
Yeah, stupid PC's acting up.
You might have to give it an elbow drop.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just gonna kick start it off with and there's a lot to unpack, man. A lot to unpack with this Vincent Kennedy McMahon drama.
Yep.
So
and I also think it led to a little side topic that we can bring up too.
Yeah.
The person who seems to have been replacing him as a person on the board over there. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he, of course, those that don't know, he's been accused of sex trafficking allegations. Obviously, clearly, he's vowing to defend himself. The wrestling world was shaken up, though, last week as news of sex trafficking lawsuit against Vince McMahon and WWE came to surface. The suit filed by former WWE employee Janelle Grant includes disturbing allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation, stating that, among other things, McMahon trafficked Grant to other men in the company. A spokesperson for McMahon has since reached out to wrestling websites with the following statement. His lawyers are saying this lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene, made-up instances that never occurred, and vindictive distortion of the truth, and Vince will vigorously defend himself. While...
Gosh, that sounds a lot like one of Vince's good running buddies there.
Yeah, but now the funny thing is, as we're well aware, he resigned from WWE and TKO Group Holdings. He's no longer on the board. He's got nothing to do now with TKO or WWE amidst all the sex trafficking allegations.
By the way, this is the second time he resigned because of these types of allegations.
Yeah. So Sean Ross Sapp reported that it was WWE President Nick Khan, no, not silly Tony Khan, had sent the following memo to his staff. He said, "I wanted to inform you that Vince McMahon has tendered his resignation from his positions as TKO Executive Chairman and on the Board of Directors. He will no longer also have a role with WWE as well." And shortly after Sapp's report, McMahon issued a statement to Deadline saying, "I stand by my prior statement that Ms. Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene, made-up instances that had just never occurred." Continuing to echo his initial denial.
All he's missing is, "I don't know the woman." That's all he's missing.
Yeah. Donald Trump. Yeah. But he said, however, out of the respect for the WWE universe, the extraordinary TKO business and its board members and shareholders, partners and constitutes, and all employees and superstars who helped make WWE into the global leader it is today, he decided to resign from all positions effective immediately. And this came literally a day after the news broke, where Janelle Grant had filed civil suit against McMahon and another former employee, Mr. Johnny Laurinaitis, alleging physical and emotional abuse, sexual assault and trafficking while she worked for WWE. The allegations, which a TKO spokesperson referred to as absolutely horrific, resulted in major WWE sponsor Slim Jim pulling its deal and putting it on pause as they didn't think they were going to get him back on board for the Royal Rumble. They did once he stepped down, of course. But
okay, so I have a question for you before we go any further.
Yeah.
Do you think he stepped down, or do you think this was Khan saying, "Look, dude, it's time for you to go"?
I don't think it was Khan. I actually think it was a head honcho of the whole of TKO UFC, that guy.
Yeah.
I think he's the one who turned around and said, you got to go. But, of course, there's more.
Of course there is.
Yeah, there's more to unpack. So, backstage report on possible fate of any WWE employees that were close to Vince McMahon. So, again, as foundations were rocked against Vince and John Laurinaitis and WWE for their alleged roles in the sexual assault, exploitation, and trafficking. Her complaint detailed harrowing allegations against McMahon, prompting an official comment from TKO Group Holdings, which was then followed by his resignation. Now, PW Insider Elite has since reported that Endeavor, which is the big parent company of the whole lot, the majority owners of TKO, may sweep out anyone close to McMahon and his remaining team to have a fresh start for the company. And they're the only two who, unfortunately, can't avoid being close to him, but they've got really nothing to do with it, is his daughter and Triple H. They might be the only two that are safe. Anybody
right, and I've seen some stuff online saying, well, Triple H has to have known more than he's saying, and I'm like, don't even. They're trying to throw Triple H under a bus that isn't even started yet.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, everybody has secrets. Maybe Vince, didn't have Triple H in that particular inner circle. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying a lot of people were like, that's why after the Rumble, people were asking him questions, and he's like, dude, no, I'm trying to have a good weekend here.
One thing I found interesting is someone that was close with Vince left weeks ago in Kevin Dunn. Maybe he saw the writing on the freaking wall, right?
Yeah.
But, it's noted that some employees departed from the company once McMahon initially resigned the first time, but returned when he came back into the company at the beginning of 2023. It's also worth noting that WWE is creatively headed by McMahon's son-in-law Triple H, with Nick Khan also brought in under Vince's regime. leading the business as president. There are a number of high-level names in the company who have at least a residual connection with WWE and with Vince. The PW Insider's report mentions that after the WWE UFC merger, that may bode negatively pertaining to their status under Endeavour. Because unlike his previous departure in 2022, there is no way McMahon can force his way back into the company, as despite holding much stock, he is neither the majority shareholder anymore, nor does he have the voting power he once had. This is the first time since Jess McMahon, which was Vince's grandfather, and Vince McMahon Sr. launched Capital Wrestling Corporation 53, that a McMahon is not involved in pro wrestling. Neither of Vince's children have been involved since last year. Stephanie resigned in January after Vince made his return to the company. Now, WWE's parent company TKO makes their first statement. So as all this was unfolding, they released a statement saying, McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations at WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very, very seriously and are addressing this matter internally. So they are addressing it and looking into it their own selves. This is where, as I said, anybody that's close connection to him probably is going to lose their job besides Triple H and Nick Khan, as long as, again, they'll probably be investigated too, and as long as they had no connection to it or knowledge of it, they should be fine. More again, as I said, there's a lot to unpack on this. Report names Brock Lesnar as WWE star mentioned in the Vince sex trafficking lawsuit. That's why he was pulled from the Royal Rumble. That's why he's also been pulled from the Elimination Chamber, and he was replaced with Bron Breakker. That's why Bron Breakker was in there. And there was going to be a storyline starting between Brock Lesnar and Dominic Mysterio. That's now going to be Bron Breakker and Dominic Mysterio. So a bombshell was dropped. When, again, all last week, everything was coming out, and it just seemed more and more, it was getting worse by the days as more stuff came out. The Wall Street Journal now reports that the former UFC heavyweight champion in question, other than longtime WWE star, is Brock Lesnar. According to the suit, Grant was instructed by McMahon to create personalized sexual content for Lesnar, referred to only as a UFC and WWE star in the lawsuit, in an attempt to sway Lesnar towards re-signing with WWE at the time. Grant alleges Lesnar told McMahon that he enjoyed the content, and that McMahon later told Grant that Lesnar re-signed with WWE in part so he could have sexual relations with Grant. Wonder how Sable feels about that.
Yeah.
The suit.
I have a funny feeling. I think people are going to be rolling over so quick in this situation as their names come up that it's not even going to be funny. We're going to see some names on there that are going to be like, oh, that sucks. Get out.
The suit further claims that McMahon gave Brock Lesnar Grant's phone number in December, leading to Lesnar requesting that she send him more explicit content. Grant then alleges Lesnar told her he would like to set up a play date between the two of them, though the encounter would ultimately not take place due to a snowstorm disrupting Brock Lesnar's travel plans. Grant alleges McMahon would attempt to traffic her to Lesnar one final time in March 2022, with McMahon once again telling her to send explicit photos to Lesnar. Ultimately, the suit alleges that a physical meeting between Lesnar and Grant never took place. And of course, Brock has not commented still at this time. Now, perhaps one of the most consequential and harrowing stories a part of all this too was shortly after the lawsuit's filed, Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis, released a statement to the media. She said, and I quote, "Today's complaint seeks to hold accountable two WWE executives who sexually assaulted and trafficked a plaintiff, as well as the organisation that facilitated or turned a blind eye to the abuse and then swept it under the rug. She is an incredibly private and courageous person who has suffered deeply at the hands of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis. Ms. Grant hopes that her lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimised. The organisation is well aware of McMahon's history of depraved behaviour, and it's time that they take responsibility for the misconduct of its leadership. Um, so WWE it will obviously clearly do their own investigation as well as TKO. As I said, apart from Sable, probably looking at Brock sideways right now. I wonder how Linda feels because
Yeah.
she's been through this multiple times and stuck with him. But I'm telling you why, if he gets found guilty in all this, I wouldn't be surprised if she leaves him.
No,
Um,
she'll get a shitload of his money anyway, so she ain't staying for the money now.
no, no,
And if he's no longer involved with either company, she ain't staying for that.
no,
And
no, exactly, exactly. Um, and I mean, mind you, all this was taking place as a 10-year, $5 billion deal with Netflix was announced. Um,
which I'm not happy with, by the way, but we can talk about that later.
yeah, yeah. But so apart from that, the more stuff, of course, was she was coerced by many an executive with the promise of career advancement, of course, and would later traffic her to many men within the WWE. Now, Grant, who signed an NDA with WWE in 2022, claims he first met McMahon in 2019 in the apartment building that they both lived in. McMahon allegedly promised Grant work at WWE and proceeded to shower her with gifts. This is coming from a married man, of course. The suit goes
Yeah.
on to allege that McMahon pressured her into sexual activities in order to secure her job in the first place. Grant was hired by WWE then in June 2019 as administration coordinator, a position McMahon allegedly created for her. She subsequently had little work to do, leading to other WWE employees complaining, and Grant believing her job was unearned. Grant further alleges that McMahon would send her sexually explicit text messages, increased demands for sex, and began forcefully using toys during sex, injuring her. He also claims that McMahon would share photos and videos of her with other WWE execs and wrestlers, and that he recruited others in WWE to have sex with her, including then WWE head of talent relations John Laurinaitis. The suit further alleges Grant's mental and physical health deteriorated, leading to McMahon sending her to what was described as a celebrity doctor in November and later paying $20,000 for surgery. The suit goes on to claim that Grant would be transferred to the Talent Relations Division in May 2021, leading to her working directly under Laurinaitis. Grant alleges that a month after the transfer, McMahon and Laurinaitis would lock her in an office and took turns sexually assaulting her, followed by McMahon assaulting her again a week later. The suit further claims that Grant would sign an NDA in January 2022 after McMahon told her his wife Linda had learned about their relationship. Nevertheless, McMahon would only pay $1 million of the agreement before ceasing making payments and continued his abuse through March of 2022. WWE's policy is not to comment on pending legal matters. A spokesperson for McMahon again reached out and said, oh, it's all lies and made up and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Now, former wrestler who is coming up through NXT, has wrestled for TNA, AEW, Kylie Ray. She addresses women's abuse in pro wrestling in wake of Vince's scandal. So she came out and obviously, because of the misconduct and everything to do with Janelle, and said basically there's been quite a lot of abuse going on, blatant abuse of power, and I mean, she took to Twitter herself and talked about the severity of safety of women in pro wrestling, where she stated that abuse of power is just simply heartbreaking, but it's rife throughout the industry. But this is just coming to light because it happens to be part of the biggest company, there is. And then, of course, Janelle Grant herself issued her first statement since, everything's come out after her lawyer even said what she had to say. And she hopes any doors to secrecy have been blown off their hinges and that fresh air fills the headquarters. And she hopes those at the company, past and present, who fear speaking out about harm is a thing of the past. She wishes everyone peace. Basically, in her own words, saying, hey, if there's any more females that have had something happen to them because of Vince and Laurinaitis, now's the time to come out and join the court case, and speak up about it. Don't stay quiet. And the lawyer also added more. Her lawyer also added more, saying, "Well, there is a thing called trauma bonding. She literally felt caged and imprisoned by McMahon, and the escalation of the degrading things that happened to her. It's important for it to come out. These are facts. These are allegations. We hope to prove to be true, and that they are true." And then Callis continued outlining what exactly Grant wants to see happen as the ultimate outcome. She wants her life back. She wants ownership of her story. She wants to help other victims. This is relatively close in time, 2019, when this unfolded, 2020, and her hope is to help other victims if there are other victims to come forward, because she had the courage and the presence of mind to finally come forward and speak out. Grant's lawyer further described how a client had been left completely physically and mentally destroyed. She was also asked whether there are any other potential victims of Vince's alleged actions working within the company, to which she revealed there is a belief that there are other victims out there, whether they worked for WWE or not, and said Grant hopes to inspire others to come forward and tell their story on their terms. However, Ms. Grant does not know of any other victims personally. And of course, you know, at the post game show, I'll call it, of interviews after the Royal Rumble, I mean, Triple H himself was dodging questions left, right, and centre.
Which is like, and I expected that. It's an active investigation. You can't expect them to speak to it.
And like he said, he didn't want to focus on the negative, considering they did that. Regardless, he goes, it's a big negative. They did have quite a positive week. And like,
I also think that Cody got blindsided. They had no business asking Cody those questions either.
And Triple H's exact words were, "Look, we just had an amazing week. I just said it, 10 years, $5 billion Netflix deal, The Rock joining our board. We just sold out the Royal Rumble, put 48,000 people in Tropicana Field. I choose to focus on the positive. And yes, there's a negative, and we know it's a big negative, but I want to focus on that and just keep it to that." Despite his reluctance to engage with the questions about the scandal, Levesque said that employee safety is important to him. As such, he promised to make it a priority moving forward. That is a very important thing to us, a very important topic to us. It's as simple as everything possible. And he also added that he found out about the harrowing story when everyone else did. He reiterated Cody Rhodes' comments about the McMahon situation and concluded by saying that he doesn't want to focus on that surrounding the company right now. As Levesque mentioned, WWE recently signed a blockbuster deal with Netflix. They had The Rock joining the board, so it was like a topsy-turvy roller coaster bloody week for them when it pertains to positives in that. You know, as I said, Slim Jim, they were lucky right at the last sort of minute. They reactivated their sponsorship for the Royal Rumble only following Vince's exit. If Vince didn't step down, then the Royal Rumble would have had no advertising partnership. But they were right.
That's why I'm thinking he didn't step down so much as he was pushed out the door.
Yeah. And then, as I said, because it happened at the same time, and as we know, it was quickly overshadowed by other developments. But we can talk about it all in the one hit. It was announced at the same time everything was unfolding with Vince that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was joining the TKO board of directors. The latest edition of Wrestling Observer features Meltzer adding some additional details on his new role. According to the report, the deal between Johnson and TKO was signed on January 3rd, meaning the company held back several weeks before announcing the news. The agreement also reportedly involves more than just Johnson's presence on the board, as it also includes merchandising agreements, promotional appearances, and more. Part of the contract with Johnson, he now owns the rights to The Rock, a piece of intellectual property that had previously belonged to WWE solely. He can now license that name back to WWE, making more money off any merch sold. Between now and the end of next year, Johnson will also be awarded an amount of TKO stock currently valued at $30 million. And it's funny, in the hours literally directly following the announcement of his place on the board, that's when the company announced WWE Raw and the rest of their programs will begin airing on Netflix as January next year. So a lot to unpack there, brother. A lot to unpack there. What's your thoughts? What's good, Yobi? I see you in the chat, brother. What's good, brother? What's your thoughts on this?
I think they basically quickly released the information on The Rock to kind of counter all the other crap news.
That and the Netflix deal, man. I think they did them
Yeah.
both just to go, hey, we got some bright news here, and don't forget the Royal Rumble's on in this.
Yep. My only issue with the Netflix deal is, if I'm understanding correctly, there'll be exclusive Netflix, which means you will have to be a subscriber to Netflix to see any of the WWE content.
Yeah.
Which is going to suck. Okay. That is not a good deal for a lot of people like me who would, I'm not going to spend 15, 20 bucks a month for wrestling,
Right.
I mean, yay, I guess, but it'd be nice if they did,
Well, apparently, I don't know about you, but for the international side of it, with Netflix, everything's going to be on. So Raw, SmackDown, NXT,
Right.
and pay-per-views are all going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, the way it sounded though, it did sound like it was going to be that way here too. It really did.
Yeah. Initially, they just said Raw, but then more came out, and it's going to be everything.
Right.
Which I don't know where that leaves, like USA. I know, and we know SmackDown was going to be leaving Fox and that, but we didn't know where we going to leave USA.
Well, and they'd been watching. I'd been watching. Like especially the pay-per-views and stuff. I watched those on Peacock.
Right.
So.
Right.
Now it looks like that may not be an option anymore, and
no, definitely. Like, but man, now that you got that Netflix pay, what's your thoughts on all of this with Vince,
I think
with Brock, with
I think there's I was actually, even though I'm, I was never really a big Brock fan, that I'm like,
Right.
oh, whatever. He's kind of a one note ride,
Yeah.
But then again, I recently watched some of his earlier matches and stuff.
Right.
And I thought, oh, there's actually a lot they could do with him if they chose to. Yeah. Now I think he might be done, at least in the WWE, if not forever. I also think that there's going to be a lot of, like I mentioned, I think a lot of, if they start naming names and stuff, I think a lot more names that we don't expect to hear from are going to come out. Because it's kind of like, to me, it feels like a repeat of the Activision Blizzard deal, where just the longer it went on, the more you found out and the worse it got. It's like, I think, how much Triple H knew or whatever, if he was involved. I hope not, because I think he's good for wrestling. And like you said, this has got to hurt the McMahon family, even those that really had nothing to do with it. I don't know. I just think it's an ugly situation.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I really don't. I don't want to. We don't know everything, but we know enough to know that it's not good. And the fact that it sounds like it was going on for a long time, that's really bad. It's like, I never like it when stuff like this is allowed to go on for a long time just because somebody's loaded or somebody's the boss, or
Yeah, exactly.
and then they're gonna run her through the mud because, well,
Yeah. I look. I put it this way. I usually like to take the wait and see approach and all this, but look, for this particular instance, and I know that John Laurinaitis is a dirty bastard too. They've both had track records with this shit for a long time. So I don't. I think I'm pretty safe in saying I do not doubt these allegations for a second.
No, I don't either, and I think hopefully she. I hate to say this. Hopefully she's got some of the proof.
I don't
hopefully
know.
There's
because I mean he's never been in trouble before, and he's a very private man. Is Brock? Like I don't know, but then again, it wouldn't shock me the lengths Vince would go to secure Brock. But then my question would be, you're married to frickin' Sable. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why would Sable? The '90s Playboy. Like, why are you? like that. I just find that insane. If he has any involvement whatsoever, but definitely with Laurinaitis and Vince, man, like they've been, especially Vince. He's a big womanizer. There'd been so many women, even from the Attitude Era, that have like wrestling female wise, that have had things to say about Vince, whether they've taken him to court or not. But just he can be very handsy. He likes to be very sexual with talking to them and stuff like that. Linda's had shot. We know Linda and him have had shot. She's come out and had shots against him too. I'm pretty sure there was something that came out, if I remember correctly, all the way back when she was getting into politics, and their relationship got pretty rocky there, even though, again, they stayed together, but it got a bit rocky there for a little period. But look, at the end of the day, I'm glad he had the decency to, or at least, regardless of which way it happened, at least the decency to either step down on his own accord, or at least the decency not to fight it if he got told you got to go.
Yep.
Because we know Vince, and Vince likes to dig his heels in and stuff. So, but look, the man doesn't really need to be there. I mean, he could ride off into the bloody sunset technically because of his age now, and he's earned billions of freaking dollars.
He can go do telenovelas.
He'd be
now.
like,
He's got the
he'd be like Bobby Kotick. He'd be like Bobby Kotick, get that golden parachute, off he goes. But look, this is, I just feel for WWE, because it's a big blemish on them, because just from looking at it, like, no, not everybody obviously backstage would be involved with Vince and that. There's obviously a lot of people that answer to people underneath him, like they've got their bosses that answer to him. So they may not be in the know of everything, as I said, and even Triple H to a degree, like Vince might have secrets from him and Stephanie. You just don't know.
I would hope so. This would be something you wouldn't want necessarily your daughter to know about,
because it would be so bad, in my opinion, if Triple H gets found out that he was in any... I know Triple H didn't have anything to do with, but if he had knowledge of this, TKO may put him and Khan on the chopping block, and that, in my opinion, won't be good, because Khan is a good sort of talent evaluator and good with contracts, and we know since Triple H has been in charge, the storylines and everything are a lot better in that. And if those two get gone, then it'll be really interesting. And I know I've seen someone the other day saying, look, if it happens, maybe they elevate Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels takes say Triple H's position, which would be good, because now if it went this way, I'm just giving a hypothetical, because Shawn is just as good storyteller as Triple H. The wonders that he does with NXT, and he's got the full power to run NXT. I wouldn't complain. I don't think you would lose anything going from Triple H to Shawn if that had to happen. You've also got William Regal there that really could easily fill Nick Khan's role. He's another guy that's he was doing a lot of business things for AEW contract-wise and stuff, but again, he's a very, very good talent evaluator as well, which was a part of Nick Khan's job. So if you say had chopped them out and had to move to Shawn and William Regal, I don't think you'd lose too much. And obviously they got a bunch of writers there anyway. You still got Paul Heyman's great brain there too.
To me, that would be interesting too. Is if those people go, will that affect Paul Heyman's standing, and will that weaken Roman's standing? Will we finally some of this crap, self-correct?
Exactly.
It's like.
But as I said, this was terrible. I mean, even without them announcing The Rock and stuff and the Netflix deal, like this was leading to like one of your big four huge, humongous pay-per-views, and you had this blemish whole hanging over the thing, literally days out from the damn pay-per-view, and apart from that, the other thing I look at is, this is why I think they do really need to really do a big investigation here. And if anybody else is in there that's close with Vince that they feel is going down that, they need to get rid of, because otherwise it is going to turn off any outside female stars wanting to come there because they're not going to
They
want
need
to.
they need to clean house, and they need to do
Yeah,
it quickly. Which
yeah. But look, as I said, I won't go as far as to say I don't know about Nick Khan, because Nick Khan I know was Vince's boy, but I do truly believe Triple H has nothing to do with this and probably no knowledge. Nick Khan, on the other hand, it could be 50-50. It really bloody could. Vince is the one who hired him, groomed him. He could have been in that inner circle with John Laurinaitis and Kevin Dunn, and Bruce Pritchard was another one that would have been in that old circle, right? I say Triple H, I'm pretty confident it is. Him and Vince have butted heads on shit before, and Triple H wanted to remove Vince because he could see Vince was losing his mind when it came to, story and how to run Raw and stuff like that. And I know they butted heads. We also know that Stephanie might not be in the know of a lot of this because they butted heads. She left the company because of him. So I think Triple H and Steph will be fine. Shane will definitely be fine because he's been out of the sight, out of mind for God knows how long. But yeah, those older boys, that's why Nick Khan may be in some strife too. I'm not sure. But again, I don't think Triple H has really got anything to worry. At least
like I said, I think some of the bigger name wrestlers may come up too. Those that were close to Vince or seem to get their way with Vince all the time. So it's gonna get really interesting. You know
what? It wouldn't surprise me. Like, it just wouldn't come as a shock. We know he's got a bit of a history past in sort of different things too. If Hulk Hogan's name starts coming up.
Because he's been in trouble before, so
And then his son's recently been in trouble for being a moron.
Yep.
So
Nick, good old
Nick Hogan. But look, it wouldn't surprise me. As I said, Brock surprised, but it's not surprising. I'd be like, why? Why did you need this when you've got saved? Wouldn't you rather just see your wife in the nude, like it's Sable? But
there's a lot of times the same could be said for a lot of people like that are married to great women or sometimes great men, and they just feel the need to step outside.
So it's gut wrenching stuff. But look, this is going to hang over him for a little bit until obviously this investigation. It's going to be in the news for a little bit. The only good thing, as I said, is I don't think Laurinaitis has been with the country for a while, so that's one you don't have to worry about. Brock's clearly out of the picture at the moment too. Vince has now stepped away, so that's at least 3 that are involved. But I think there's, because the way that the wording is there's multiple, so I think that's why they really need a strong investigation. Even WWE and TKO themselves, to sniff out anybody else. You want to get rid of them as quick as you possibly can, especially if you want that same environment.
I really wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden you start seeing, without reason, people leaving the WWE. Bye. All of a sudden not getting on TV, all of a sudden just not getting talked about. And you go, I bet you,
Yeah. So, it's as I said, it's devastating.
So it's a sad thing.
Yeah.
So why don't we switch to a happier topic?
Yeah.
Or at least
let's get into Royal Rumble discussion. So we had a lot going on at the Rumble. I'm just going to be frank with people, though. I've been a wrestling fan for a long time, so I've seen many Royal Rumble pay-per-views. This was the worst Royal Rumble pay-per-view I've ever witnessed. It really was.
This was weird. There's weird on a few levels.
In my personal opinion, the only match that was worth a dime was the women's match. That Royal Rumble match completely was the best match, stole the show, was the highlight of the night. Because Universal Championship match was pathetic. The US Championship match was pathetic. I was expecting a lot better than what I seen.
My issue is two of the matches were won by cheating. And so it's starting to become very, here we go again. Okay.
One thing I will say, I was right on who was going to win the Royal Rumble with my prediction. I said Bailey last week. That was my prediction.
Yeah.
I was like, you know why?
Yep.
Because she hasn't been in that picture, and we've had Becky, we've had the Bianca Belairs and all that. But they also had the more surprises in that damn match, which we'll get to, right? The men's Rumble match, apart from Andrade coming back, absolutely freaking nothing. No massive surprise, nothing.
Well, and what was it with the commentator getting called into the ring?
That was really sad to watch, but at the same time, I did have a bit of a giggle because when he climbed over and he jumped in, and he's like, "Nah, fuck that," and then he jumped back over.
By the way, he's a permanent addition to Monday Night now. They announced it tonight, so
yeah, I like him. I like him as a commentator. He had that comedic aspect, and him and Corey Graves bounced pretty well off each other. Because Corey plays that sort of heel commentator.
Yeah.
But
which we talked about, they need that kind of switch.
Yeah.
You know, that heel versus that play.
But like as I said, one thing I love. Look, before I talk about Bailey itself, that women's match, as I said, was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I loved Naomi coming back and how long she lasted. Not only that, but the TNA Knockouts champion was in there for quite some time too, in Jordan Grace. And I hope there's
I enjoyed watching Cargill come back. That was nice.
Yeah, she had a good thing. Although I'm a bit disappointed in WWE's Performance Center. It doesn't look any better than she did in AEW. I was expecting a lot, and she admitted it herself. She was, even at the Performance Center, she's came out in interviews since. She was forgetting stuff.
Yeah.
How to do moves. She was like forgetting a lot of stuff. I said the whole time, and I was glad that they were going to take their time before debuting. But I'm sitting back now thinking, what the freaking hell have you been doing with her? Because she, as I said, she still looks green, and I want her to succeed. She has a fantastic look. I was
going to say she looks like she's in the best shape of almost any of the women out there.
Yeah, she does. I loved what she did to Nia. That was cool, but she is as green as hell. Still, she is not anywhere close to being. I wouldn't put it this way. I would not put her anywhere near any of either one of the women's titles. Not a chance, because she is not on any of those girls' level, talent-wise. That's why I'm curious as to what the freaking hell's happened. You announced her signing what? When was it? September, October, or something last year. You had her sporadically show up, show a face in that, just to let fans, hey, we've got Jade Cargill. But what the hell have you been doing with her at the Performance Center? Because I expected her to be a lot further along than what she is, because she looks.
Well, also, I think, to be fair, I don't think a Royal Rumble is a good place to try to show somebody off, because there's just too much going on.
She said she's been annoyed by her training at the Performance Center. As I said, this is why I do like her, because she holds herself accountable. She understands that and as I said, she's eager. She's like a baby. She's eager to improve. She's eager to take in the information. But I don't know if they're trying to cram too much, and that's making her forget some stuff, or forget how to do certain thing, or what's going on. But yeah, they still need to do some work with her. That's for sure, because as I said, I expected her to, talent-wise, to, not a huge drastic turn, but at least somewhat improved from her AEW days, where she was really, really green as hell. And yeah, I'm with her. I mean, she's calling it herself. She's saying that she's as green as hell, basically, in her own words. I need help. I need more work. I don't know if they've had Natalia down there helping her, but I'll get Natalia down there. Get. Well, you can't with Charlotte because she's out at the moment. But Becky, Bailey, get some of these talented, experienced women, a whole bunch of them, just to work with her. No good a male working with her. It needs to be these females. As I said, Natalia is one of the heads of the locker room, obviously, because she's been there for quite some time. But yeah, they need to do something. But man, they had some awesome surprises, and I was so happy, that Bailey won. Good to see also Liv Morgan come back too at the end.
So what did you think when R-Truth came out?
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. And then you had the Raw GM run down. What are you doing? Oh, I thought it was the guys, and no, that's women. Oh, you're telling me that's women? I loved it, man. I thought it was funny. Because what's the name's music hit, and then his music hit. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
But no, look, he's a treasure, man. He absolutely, he's a gem. He's a treasure. He's so great in the comedic role. Like it was funny in the men's rumble when Miz was wanting to throw Dominic out, and he pulls Dominic. He's like, no, we can't do that. He's like, he's on the shirt. He's Judgment Day. Miz is like, you're not in Judgment. But no, look, it was good to see Bayley win. And setting Bayley up, obviously, clearly for the biggest match of her career. Just over 2 months for that. You know, Bayley's victory was well earned. Fans of the former hugger, as she was as a babyface, likely found a great deal of catharsis with her win. Being a Bayley fan, of course, isn't easy. Her booking hasn't always felt satisfying for her level of popularity and her extreme amount of talent. It felt like this was her year, though, and she'd now be heading to Philadelphia this April to challenge either women's champion, although I'm pretty damn sure she's going to Io Sky because she's about to be on the outs of that group. And there's
a group that she formed, by the way. So
I mean, there's plenty of storytelling with Sky. Yeah. You know, they've had their fair share of tension, obviously, despite remaining partners.
Right.
And no, it's just, you know, along with offering obviously an exciting match, had added benefits, as it's mentioned, plenty of fun, taking full advantage of stipulation with surprise appearances, unexpected eliminations, big moments. As I said, the women's match really truly lived up to the Royal Rumble. But as I said, I was so happy to see Bayley win. I just picked her. I really didn't think that they were going to give it. I was like, oh, you got your Bianca Belair in there, or your Becky Lynch, or you got Jade in. Maybe they're going to surprise us all and have Jade win the whole damn thing, you know, or maybe a returning Naomi. They were going to give it to her, and I saw in a few other names. I thought, oh, Nia was eliminating everybody left, right, and center, and I was just happy, man. And she did it from, what was she, number 1 or number 2, you know? So she really had to work for it. One thing, then moving on to something I didn't like, which was the match that obviously clearly followed it. And this is the thing, before I go in my little rant here, and you can join in.
Well, before you switch, though, I just want to say with Bianca Belair, there was one point there where they were trying to get her out, where whoever was outside of the ring was really yanking on that ponytail. That's the first time I've ever seen somebody truly
it was Tiffany Stratton. It was Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, I was like, ow. That had to not feel good. I mean,
but look, anybody that knows wrestling, the minute that the Universal Championship match was the next one to follow, especially before a US title man, I was like, yep, you know, instantly. We clearly know because it's Roman, he wasn't dropping the title. But even if it wasn't Roman, whoever would be the champion wouldn't be dropping the title in a match that's not a main event match. But it was the low. I hated it because of the low stakes of it. You know, saying a fatal 4-way match for the Undisputed Universal Championship, especially one taking place at the Rumble, WWE's second biggest show of the year, has low stakes. You know, might sound like a contradiction in terms, but just bear with me a second. On one of the grandest stages in all of pro wrestling, WWE stacked 3 top guys against one of the longest reigning champions in history. They had Styles, LA Knight, Randy Orton taking on Roman. Why did a match that would be a rainmaker of a main event on any other premium live event feel so insequential? Because it wasn't a main event match. Sure, it was never going to be the main event of the Royal Rumble because that honor is usually reserved for the namesake match. That's obvious. Also, by and large, we are no longer in the era in which a world title has to be the main event. But by booking it as the second match on the damn card, going on before the US Championship match was set, and clearly that's a lesser title, WWE made it blatantly obvious to anyone with an ounce of critical thinking skills that there was no chance whatsoever Reigns was losing the title. It was simply nothing more than filler.
Yep.
And literally, make no mistake about it, the match really wasn't that great by a lot of people's standards. Probably the best part of the match was Randy RKOing everybody.
Yeah.
Apart from that, yeah.
Well, and as we said, we all saw the end coming too.
Yeah, the predictable appearance of Solo Sikoa providing help.
Yep.
Once again, and me and you discussed this, we didn't care that he won. Why couldn't he just kick every one of them in the balls and spear one of them and then do it himself? Why? Yet again.
I mean, you've seen my tweets. I often wonder if they actually read my tweets and go, "Here we go again. This guy's just
no, but I mean,
jumping on us."
It is the most laziest of storytelling.
Yeah.
You can't have. I said it. That's why I was using a rock term. I said he shouldn't be called the tribal chief. He should be called the tribal bitch, because here you are, this big badass Samoan, and you can't. I said you can't get it done on your own. How many times has Brock Lesnar as a heel got it done by himself? Because he's never been part of a group. There's been other heels too. Taker's been a heel before, and he's got things done on his own. Right?
Yep.
Bret Hart was a heel. He got things done on his own. Yes, there was sometimes he had interference too, but he did win matches on his own.
I think Piper's heel got things done on his own.
Yeah.
Sure, he played dirty and stuff, but he didn't have.
And look, I don't care if Roman did. Roman wants to low blow him and then put his legs on the ropes to get the leverage. I don't care, because it's still him and him alone at the end of the day doing it. Poke him all in the eye, hit him in the balls.
He's been the last few fights. He's actually been rescued, not just help win. He's been rescued.
Randy had him beat, and I knew the minute Randy did all those RKO and then RKO'd him, and he was flat on his face, on his stomach. I was like, here we go. Solo or Jimmy's coming out, and sure enough, without a shadow of a doubt, referee gets pulled out. Solo reveals him. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. I'm like, can we please get a different ending? If you're gonna have him retain, that's cool, but this is so bloody predictable every single damn time. Every time. And I'm getting really annoyed with it. And now this is why I'm curious if plans may change, because we've known for the longest time, and I actually delved into it too just the other day, calculating when he actually surpasses Hogan's record. He doesn't surpass Hogan's record until September. And
but that could mean, I see what bums me about that, and I mentioned it in our tweet, is that means that the WrestleMania is going to be a repeat of last year. Him and Cody, and Cody's going to lose.
Now this is what I'm about to get into. Now, this is why, look, if their plan is still to do it this, right, he has to get through SummerSlam, meaning he wouldn't drop it at SummerSlam. He'd have to drop it at the next big pay-per-view after that, which would be Survivor Series, right? And then he would literally well and truly be past Hogan's record by at least 50 days, I think it would be. So he wouldn't lose it until October, right? Now that you've got Cody winning again, I really don't think you could do that to him and his momentum again. I think you are now going to have to say, hey, Roman, I know what our initial plans were. The fans are pissed off with you. Fans are pissed off with us with the storytelling. We're going to have Cody beat you. And Cody's been the only logical one, because otherwise, if your plan was to still keep the title on Roman, and this is why there's some confusion, right, which I'm going to get to in a minute too. I would have had Punk win if your plan is to still have, but because otherwise it's pointless having Cody win. Because if he loses again at WrestleMania, then he's never going to win the damn thing, because you're not going to do it a third round. But here's where the problem comes into it. They've been building, and apparently it's still inside the case. Maybe it turns into a triple threat, but it was meant to be Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Maybe it's a triple threat now. Or, if it's not a triple threat, you do Cody and Roman. Cody beats him, and then you do Roman and Rock at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
No title. And I've said the whole time, I would prefer Rock and Roman. I want to see that match. but I'd prefer it when there's no title, because if the title's on the line, you already know who's going to win. But if there's no title involved, then it adds intrigue,
Right.
because then Rock could win.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But look, I really hope that they have changed plans, because I personally don't think that he needs to.
Me
beat
too,
Hogan's
because they made a big deal about Cody. This is he's the first person in how many years to win back-to-back Rumbles,
No.
which and so if you're gonna start hyping him up again, don't do what we did last year. I really don't want to see a repeat of that shit.
No,
He's
they
gonna
can't.
finish the story. Is he gonna finish the story? Is he gonna? Nope,
Yeah.
he's not gonna finish.
If they
don't do that again.
Yeah,
Oh my
he has
God.
to win. He has to.
Yeah.
If they make him lose again, that's, in my opinion, that's the end of Cody Rhodes. Because not as in like his career's over. You may as well just stick him in the freaking mid card and say, "Sorry, son, you ain't main event material. We ain't giving you the title run."
Yep.
They can't do it to him. They can't. He's got all this momentum. He just rebuilt all this momentum back up after losing last year. You can't have him lose again. You just can't. They've painted themselves in a corner now. Even regardless if
and if they did do that to him, if I was him, I'd be pissed if they did.
Yeah. Look, as I said, they should just be happy. Roman's beat many a record. He's going to sit third on the list just behind Hogan and Bruno. So being in the top three is something. They don't need to have him beat Hogan's record, because the only way they could have done that is if Cody Rhodes wasn't involved in this whole thing. Maybe then you could drag it, and if they had done things to make the storyline refresh and keep it interesting. But they haven't. They fumbled it and fumbled it and fumbled it to the point that, for the last at least 12 months, it's been boring as batshit, and it just got more boring and more boring and more boring and more predictable. People are so sick now. People, even Yobi in the chat, we all just love it, seeing Roman come out. People are over it. We don't want to see him.
Oh, I'm way over it. I
want him to lose the title, and then I want him to completely leave for a while. Go and do your Hollywood thing. Like, I'm sick of seeing you when you do come on, because he just frustrates me now. Like, he just does. I'm sick of seeing someone hold a title that you've diminished the title so much. Him and Paul, and they might think, because he's on this long run. No, it's diminished. He sat at home for this latter half of this reign. You've sat at home racking up the days.
I honestly believe, given the reactions that we've seen when he's come out, nobody cares. I mean, seriously, the vast majority of the audience could give a shit when he walks out.
Yobi saying in the chat, CM Punk is out of WrestleMania. He's injured. Oh, wow. So that's going to change who takes on Seth, because we know that the Elimination Chamber next month will determine who takes on Seth. But if Punk's out...
No... Yeah, but I don't know how much of that is show, because he was then, because I saw that part of the show. He was then attacked and had his arm jumped on at the same time.
I think, well, he injured it he injured it at the Rumble too. He was holding his arm at the Rumble after he got eliminated. I just don't know how bad it is, but if he's out,
right,
then I think we're going to get what I think we're going to get. We may get Gunter versus Seth, which would be cool, because Gunter would then hold both belts. And there has been rumors circulating. Remember, there was that leak saying Gunter... Well, initially the leak actually said Gunter was going to win the Royal Rumble, take on Seth, and hold both belts. But now you could have Gunter win the Elimination Chamber, because makes sense. Seth being a babyface, you have a heel going up against him, and Gunter's got a lot of steam. And I actually think he is ready to enter that world title scene, to be quite fair. And he'll probably vacate the IC title once he does win it, like a lot of people do. So, what did you say earlier? Above that comment, where are we? Oh, yeah, dude, they just did a segment on Raw where Seth is trying to convince Cody to go for the World Heavyweight Championship instead, saying Roman isn't the guy anymore. Could be interesting. I mean, we know he pointed at Roman at the end of the Rumble, but, we know as we head into WrestleMania, plans can always change. So if Rock is available and they are still going to do that, then maybe Cody does go for Seth.
I could see both pluses and minuses for that. I wouldn't.
But in saying that, then there's still going to be confusion. So what would be the point in doing the men's elimination chamber then?
Right.
It'd be absolutely pointless, and they're not going to do it for no US or Indian. Oh, the winner of this is going to have one of the middle belt. No, you're only doing an elimination chamber for someone to go after the big belt. So, I don't know. I still think Cody Roman, maybe Rock and Roman after he drops the belt to Cody and Rock and Roman happens in the summer. I don't know. It's going to get interesting, especially, as I said, if Punk is legitimately out, that's going to change a lot of plans. But if I was going to predict it if he's out, I think Cody versus Roman, night 2, Seth versus Gunther, night 1. That'd be my guess. I'm just guessing because I've already teased it. Yeah, Yobi's agreeing. Yobi's agreeing on that. But yeah, man, and then which we're going to talk more about WrestleMania soon. Other matches look like they're in the works, but another thing I didn't like, and this is just a small thing, but you're so used to the Royal Rumble having surprises, nostalgic surprises too, and there was a big lack of it, especially in the men's. As I said, men's lack of
the men's was so bad for that. I mean, having the two brothers came out first, okay, cool, but you kind of expected it,
Yeah. So I mean, you look back, Booker T in 2011, Bubba Ray Dudley in 2015, Edge in 2020, John Cena's surprise all the way back in the day where he entered after a long time out with injury. All examples of incredible nostalgic surprises that have taken place at the Rumble over the years. Moments that have become etched in time simply due to the reactions that they created.
Right.
Surprise appearances are expected in a Rumble match, but in recent years, WWE has tended to lean upon NXT stars and injured members of the main roster over people from years gone by. That was the case once again this year, and unfortunately, both matches suffered because of it, but more the men's than the women's. Granted, there were some enjoyable surprises, whether that be Naomi and Andrade return, or seeing TNA's top woman Jordan Grace step through the Forbidden Door. However, there were no big nostalgic returns from people of a different era to lift up the crowd and create that one moment that people would talk about 10 years from now. The Rumble has always been a series of matches because of what's on the line, but because they last for so long, it's important to have those one-off moments to not only wake the live crowd up, but to break up the match generally. Both matches, but in particular, as I mentioned, the men's could have benefited from this. Considering the countless wrestlers that WWE has to choose from and wrestlers that are on Legends contracts, it's hard to imagine it isn't easy for WWE to make this happen. So it's just a case of the company not wanting to do it. While it's great to see stars like Roxanne Perez get an opportunity to showcase themselves, and Tiffany Stratton, Carmelo, Braun Breaker, ultimately they're not that well known by the larger audience, and that is reflected by the quieter reactions when they actually came out. It's important to get a balance, and WWE didn't quite get that right this year. Sprinkle in a couple of stars from the past, maybe some more bigger stars from outside the company that may be free agents, to set up some classic moments could have been created that would have breathed life into each encounter, especially during their mid-match slumps. One thing though that I loved from the pay-per-view, and I mentioned it before, this is what I call him, R-Truth is a damn national treasure. R-Truth is there is nobody pulling their weight quite like R-Truth, in my opinion. Regardless of one's opinion on comedic wrestling segments, R-Truth's work ethic is absolutely undeniable. After making a surprise return to endorse Ruffles at last year's Survivor Series event, R-Truth has been making his presence known by offering entertaining segments week in and week out. And at the Rumble, it was no exception. R-Truth pulled double duty with his appearance in both the women and men's Rumble matches. When R-Truth appeared in the women's match and ran past, that's right, it was Valhalla who was coming out, ran past Valhalla, everybody, I think, lost their mind. The thing about R-Truth that puts him a cut above other comedic wrestlers is that he wholeheartedly believes in what he is doing, despite his antics being so mind-bogglingly irrational. There was genuine confusion on his face when he asked, "Where's the men at?"
Yeah.
As if he didn't just run past a woman to enter the Rumble. And I loved it how when he run past her, he was looking at her because she was wearing the antlers, like, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
What was interesting too, if you're paying attention, you knew when he was going to run out during his rumble because of when he ran out.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was a certain number, so you knew when he was going to come out for the men's rumble.
yeah, exactly. Um, and some may say, look, WWE is oversaturated with truth, and there are some that will claim that his brief inclusion in the women's match was thoughtless. But I think that his women's Rumble appearance, while not serious nor substantial, was done considerately. Nia Jax was the perfect person to stand up against and eliminate him, considering that in 2019 she entered the men's Royal Rumble match and was famously RKO'd by Randy Orton before being eliminated by Rey Mysterio. Jackson Truth are two people who were in the similar situation of entering in an opposite sex's Royal Rumble match. So it was a bit of a full circle moment that displayed a level of thought behind Truth's inclusion. Plus, he didn't overshadow any of the women by scoring an elimination. So it was a harmless segment that got a great laugh out of most of the crowd. Truth's participation in the men's Rumble was absolutely great. His hot tag spot with Dominic Mysterio was absolutely hilarious. And Mysterio deserves his flowers as well for going along with it. While Mysterio is not necessarily as serious of a character as others in Judgment Day, he is still considerably more earnest in his villainy than Truth. So to see him do something so goofy was a nice treat. Truth, again, was obviously unfortunately eliminated only a few minutes later by Damien. And Damien, man, just charging in there and just like, he had his eyes set on Truth. It's like, see you later.
Yeah.
And considering the current bad blood and high tensions between the two, it was better Priest than anyone else that eliminated him. But such a fast-paced industry, it can be hard to keep a character fresh and relevant. But Truth to be just as beloved now as he was 10 years ago is great. And it is even more impressive that R-Truth is able to supplement his comedic skill with in-ring participation, especially considering his age. While he may have missed the chance to headline WrestleMania, he can rest easy knowing that he is an absolute national treasure for WWE.
I can't imagine if he would have got the headline at WrestleMania.
That would have been funny. Another thing I disliked, and this I did very much dislike. I don't think it was. I would have preferred to see him get eliminated by someone entirely different.
Wait, before you say his name, let me see if I can. Jimmy Uso.
No.
No. Oh,
No.
okay. Because I got issues with Jimmy.
Yeah, he got eliminated pretty quickly too. He wasn't in there for a heck. Like, he had his thing with his brother, and then once more started coming in, it was like goodbye. You know. But
well, no, but every time a heel came in, he was trying to partner up with them, and then trying to look confused to why they wouldn't partner up with him. Like, dude. I mean, it made him look like a doofus. I didn't care for that. I mean,
it did. No, the one I'm thinking of is Bron Breakker. Breakker came in to the men's match like a speeding freight train. For someone who's still in NXT, the way he was booked to destroy nearly everybody in the match was impressive. Shortly after he stepped in the ring, he eliminated Jimmy Uso and Finn Balor, members of two of WWE's top factions, one after the other. He then broke Gunter, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion ever, in half with a spear. Breakker broke Ivar in half as well and tossed him over the top rope like it was absolutely nothing. He then set his sights on the 7-foot-tall Omos and eliminated him with little effort. Now, we know he's just in NXT, but he's obviously they're clearly about to move him up to the main roster. So to have him steam train in, eliminate 4 people in the span of a couple of minutes, and then snap a champion in half like it was nothing, that is how you make a boy into a legend, yeah?
Yeah.
And then he was tossed over the rope by Dirty Dom. Now, I don't, you know me, I did initially have an issue with Dominic, but he started to grow on me as his work started getting better, so I don't have an issue with him per se. I do think he's doing fantastic work with Judgment Day, probably the best in his career so far. And I'm excited to see him continue to improve and to continue to see where he goes, especially once Judgment Day is no more, you know. But I also think to have Breakker so unceremoniously dumped to the outside by him after a jaw-dropping performance nearly invalidated all of the work that Breakker did without giving much credibility to Mysterio. They didn't even have a back and forth. There was no lock-up, no measures taken to make Mysterio's elimination of Breakker believable, Nobody benefited from that elimination. And while I'm not saying
I'd have to go back and see it. I mean, did he surprise Breaker? Did he kind of like come up behind him and just throw him over?
Yeah, I think Breaker, if I remember right, was looking at whoever the fourth guy he eliminated. He was looking at him, and then Mysterio just tossed him over.
Right.
So nobody benefited from the elimination. And while I'm not saying Breaker should have made it to the final four by any means, I do think his elimination could have been done with a bit more consideration. There is a silver lining to it, though, I think, and maybe I'm sort of having a wild guess here. With a performance like that, he's surely main roster bound sooner rather than later. Obviously, he's still in that. I think is it the Dusty Classic, so he's got to do that tag team with Baron Corbin. But I think once that's done, and if they don't win it, they've got to move him up because he's done everything he can do in NXT.
I honestly think that may be the reason they had him come in and do what he did and eliminate him quickly. It was just to set him up for the move.
No, exactly. I would have just I don't, as I said, I didn't think he'd get to the final four. But Gunther was still in there. I know he snapped Gunther in half, but why not have Gunther get revenge on him and eliminate him after embarrassing him with a spear? That to me would have been more believable. Not little Dom. I mean, Bron Breakker's not a little guy. He's a big guy.
No, but that also might be why they did it. They've always been trying to show that Dom can handle the big guys.
No, well, the only other thing, as I said, is maybe that helps start, because he's obviously clearly embarrassed by getting thrown out by a little guy.
By a little dude, yeah.
Yeah, that sets up the program.
It could have been worse. Could have been worse. It could have been Dom's father. You
only
get thrown out by somebody tiny, gets thrown out by somebody who's 5 foot nothing.
Since they seem to be replacing Brock with Bron, and Brock was going to start a program with Dominic, maybe this is how they set up the program with Bron Breakker leading into WrestleMania. But you have to get him up to the bloody main roster yet, so hopefully he comes up.
So the next big match for them is at the NXT pay-per-view, right, which is coming up here. Yeah.
And I didn't like the US title match at all. As I said, I thought that was very...
I was hoping, God, I was hoping that, when the end started to turn around and the guy didn't get the brass knuckles, and then then the brass knuckles did end up there, but it ended up that what's his name ended up with. I thought, okay, finally somebody's gonna, but no, all of a sudden the ref sees the fucking brass. I went, oh, here we go. Well, this is going to be a bullshit ending.
Initially he wouldn't have, because Kevin had his hands together, so his top hand was covering it when he pinned. But then he removed his top hand, so then you could quite clearly. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I loved that he came and beat the crap out of him up, put him through the table. Which
me too. But I thought it would have been nice for Kevin to win it that way.
Well, you know what I feel? He'll win it at the WrestleMania, because apparently they'll have a rematch at WrestleMania. So Kevin will win at WrestleMania, which is a bigger stage again. So, but I just didn't think that match lived up to what I was expecting either. It was probably Logan Paul's worst match I've actually seen from him. Usually I expect more out of it. I know Kevin, he's still injured, and I actually do think that is a legitimate injury. He has actually, I don't know to what severity, but he has obviously clearly done something to his hand.
Right.
So that would take out him doing a few of his moves to a degree, but yeah, I thought that was going to be, hopefully their WrestleMania match is better. It won't take much to top this, but this was not the type of match I was expecting. And like I said, I thought
the ending was going to be something kind of special. That's something you go, oh yeah, that's different, that's cool.
Yeah.
Instead, it just ended up being
Andrade, when he's returned in the men's match, he got a heck of an ovation, an absolute heck of an ovation. And it was funny because Santos thought he'd team up with him, and he didn't. He brushed him off. Brushed him off, like, get away from me. But no, look, who I thought was some of the, in my opinion, so some of the biggest winners and losers, in my opinion, I like to do some biggest winners and losers of it, of the pay-per-view. Regardless that, again, as I said, doesn't look like she's improved much in ring. I still think Jade Cargill was a winner. Her debut was a monumental moment, with Michael Cole shrieking, "She's here!" That St. Petersburg crowd absolutely lost their collective shit. And the dominant display that she did put on, especially engaging with Nia, when no one else... I mean, even the other big girl struggled to lift Nia, and Jade came in and made it look effortlessly.
Yeah, yeah, Jade.
It was one of those anything you can do, I can do better kind of moments.
I really enjoyed Jade's entrance. I really did. I thought, okay, she's showing how strong she really is. Yeah, she's showing how
she
strong
didn't just toss the
really
smaller
is.
women around the ring. She picked Nia Jax up like a toddler and eliminated the dominant superstar. The fact that Nia has been a thorn in the side of bona fide star like Becky Lynch adds a very interesting aspect to Jade's elimination of Jax. She did basically what the man couldn't.
Right.
And Becky, as you've seen, once Nia was eliminated, gloated over her eliminated rival, but it was Cargill who did obviously the heavy lifting there.
Literally.
And as I said, she looks like $1 million. She's not lacking confidence, and fused with animatic aura. The woman simply draws viewers. She has what old Hollywood types would call moxie, spunk. She just needs to...
I hate spunk, to quote Mary Tyler Moore.
But as I said, she make no mistake for this, tribalistic nonsense that could surround it. Cargill looks like a star because WWE is able to pay off the hard work that AEW did with her star power wise, but she's still a diamond in the rough. And she just needs a little bit of polish when it comes to the wrestling side of things. As I said, everything else falls into place already. She can talk. She looks $1 million. She's an athlete. She wants to learn, but yeah, I think they might need to get different people with her down at that performance center.
Well, and if she's saying she's having problems, I hate to be that guy, but some of that's got to be on her. She knows what she needs to do. She knows what she needs to learn. She's
another winner of the night, and you'll agree with me on this because I know you're a huge fan. Cody Rhodes, of course. Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
He finally has grown into the kind of athlete and personality who can definitely act as the face of the sports franchise. Full stop. End quote. Full stop, end quote. So he not only won the Rumble, but during the press conference, handled the media with grace and poise. He even answered a question about disturbing allegations against Vince better than the actual corporate face of the company, Paul Levesque, did. Rhodes was vulnerable, emotional, upbeat, everything you could ask for from a company man. And he didn't even have to make a spectacle of how much he loves Mountain Dew Pitch Black to do it.
Right.
It's a cold hard fact that if Rhodes ever wants to be in a position where he can finish the story, he needs to be the kind of person who can go on Good Morning America and be a pleasant, welcoming face of WWE. And on Saturday, Rhodes showed all of that and then some. He enters rarefied air by winning 2 Royal Rumbles back-to-back. So obviously the company sees what we all see. Even if Rhodes doesn't dethrone Roman Reigns, he's already in a position to usurp the head of the table's place as WWE's goodwill ambassador. So
yeah, definitely he's there. He's definitely, to me, he's the next John Cena, so to say. He'll be
in that position. Yeah, definitely in that position. Loser of the evening, Paul Levesque. He had his feet held to the fire, and he got burned badly. So badly so that the WWE Chief Content Officer was forced to drag Saturday's press conference on as long as possible, practically begging for softball questions that could soothe his hurt from the trio of hard-hitting questions Levesque received about the horrific allegations of abuse and sex trafficking against Vince and unnamed corporate officers, as well as wrestlers in a new lawsuit. Levesque dodged every question about McMahon, opting instead to focus on what a good week WWE had, if ever a thing was possible, the week that the company nearly lost major sponsor Slim Jim over the monstrous behaviour that was outlined in the 67-page lawsuit that Levesque flatly admitted to not reading. Levesque is simply not cut out for scrutiny. He just isn't. He wants to be able to celebrate WWE's wins, but has no time for WWE's losses. Levesque even committed something of a verbal slip, admitting that he was hemming and hawing for easy questions because he felt he owed the group answers, which is true. There are specific answers the world wants from Paul Levesque. What did he know about McMahon's alleged crimes? When did he know? How is he specifically working to stop those abuses from happening in the future? If he doesn't want to give us the answers to those questions, then as far as a lot of people may be concerned, he can keep his facts and figures to himself.
Well, okay, my issue with that, and I kind of made allusion to it, is that may have been lawyers telling him, "Look, dude, you can't talk about this right now. It's an ongoing situation."
Yeah, that's possibly. Yeah. But at the same time, like, he's got to expect the questions to be asked by them. Of course, the media is going to ask about it.
We did, but you know,
but it was
what
just
he
funny.
said, we're trying to redirect things instead of just because what he should have actually said, to be real, which would have got more heat, is no comment. You know,
no, and I just thought it was funny because it is true. Cody answered the questions better than what he did.
Yeah, but Cody isn't held to the same legal bindings.
He's not, which is probably another thing. But Cena did many legendary things. I don't believe no one will feel he should. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because Levesque is held to, you're an actual executive of the company, so we have to be really careful what you say. You know.
Yeah.
And there's no way he's going to admit, yeah, I knew this shit was going on. He's not going to,
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hang on a minute. So Yobi's, okay, so Yobi sent me this information while we're still talking about Vince, even though we got past, but, link in here. So, major reason, coming from Wrestling News Hub, this comes from Yobi, so shout out to the Mr. Peace, Love, Life. Major reason Shane McMahon actually left WWE in the mid-2000s been revealed. Now that Vince has officially resigned from his executive role, first time in over 50 years, there isn't a McMahon involved with the WWE because, as we know, Stephanie's not there at the moment either, unless she comes back. So this should be big enough, but more news has come out. Since Vince is gone and WWE is previously sold off, people are speaking out as they feel safe to do so. One report involved the real reason Shane left WWE in the mid-2000s, to the shock of many at the time. Initially, everyone assumed the WWE would be given to Shane to run whenever Vince stepped away. However, Vince wanted his son to be just like him, whereas Shane never wanted this. In fact, he actively tried to avoid being like his father. This eventually came to a head when Shane figured out what his father was involved in over at Titan Tower. While everyone was pretty much aware that Vince had mistresses and cheated on his wife regularly, no one knew to what extent. According to reports, Shane was trying to stop some of the actions taking place. He even stuck around far longer than he wanted to help stop Vince's terrible behaviour. He was involved in many attempts to do so, but Vince's power was just too much. Vince felt that Shane would come along eventually and often tried to get him to engage in similar debaucherous actions. He'd even turn his father's attempts to do so in front of major executives in WWE at the time. Yet Shane wanted nothing to do with that and eventually did not want anything to do with his father at all. The tension built and Shane left entirely. The two were estranged for quite some time. For years, many assumed the falling out was over Shane not getting the CEO role that his mother left open when she departed, but now we know that is not the case. Triple H and Stephanie tried to do similar. You'll notice that Triple H and Stephanie might not have been aware of all the actions Vince was involved in, and I said that at the top of the show. They may not have been in that particular inner circle. Triple H and Vince did not work next to each other, and while Stephanie did work at Titan Tower, she was not privy to absolutely everything. Whenever Janelle Grant filed her internal issue with WWE, which led to Vince retiring initially, Stephanie did some digging of her own reportedly and was able to conclude that her father did engage in the actions claimed. The rest of the actions Grant details in her lawsuit are what many believe drove a wedge between Stephanie and her father, as she likely found out about a lot of this herself but knew she was powerless to stop it. Remember, once Vince did his power grab to take back his former role as CEO and chairman, Stephanie could have kept her seat on the board of directors and as an executive, but chose to leave instead. She has not been back since. Triple H and Vince's power struggle. So while Stephanie felt she could change the culture of WWE when she took over, she and Triple H had been trying to change it for years. The idea was that Trips would form his own close team, and that could one day help take the spots of Vince's cronies. The problem is that many still had Vince on their side. You might notice too that whenever Triple H had to leave for a bit due to his heart surgery, Vince took the opportunity to basically remove as many people as he could from that team or even the roster. He'd even fire people, as I mentioned, on the roster that were considered to be very close to Triple H and not close to Vince. That included even people like William Regal, who was a critical asset to WWE's Performance Center and NXT. However, he's also one of Triple H's best friends. This is something Vince also changed at random, attempting to take away everything Triple H had been building. Many fans thought it was jealousy when, in reality, Vince did it out of spite and to prove the power he held was vast. Shawn Michaels then put it to power for NXT to yet again move the chess pieces, as firing HBK would have been a huge issue. Especially with how close him and Triple H are. Even when Vince came back, Michaels could not be removed, and Triple H's power had allowed him to bring back a lot of his team and superstars, many of the people that Vince had fired. Political moves. Now, Triple H knows Ari Emanuel is the boss over the TKO group, meaning he runs the show and he's the guy who can shift the culture. Removing Vince from creative was Hunter's first real political move under TKO. Not only did it work, but Ari gave Triple H a ton of power creatively to do more than he could ever do under a Vince McMahon-owned WWE. Shane managed to return at WrestleMania last year after a weird stint at a Royal Rumble event the year before. It was an odd situation, but Shane coming back around was not something Vince really pushed for. Rather, many believe it was Triple H who wanted to slowly integrate Shane into his team within WWE. And based on how he stood up to his father before and still is against his old man's actions, it's a safe bet that adding Shane to the team would be best for business long term. And sources, because so many of you have asked, you can read some of the graphic details about what Vince is accused of. It's public information for all to see. Second, we also used information from outlets like Wrestling Observer, Fightful, TDS, and many more for this story, including the use of our own sources and connections. Man, some more interesting stuff there, especially surrounding Shane. So thanks for that scoop there, Yobi. That was a good extra added information to the rest of the stuff at the top of the show. Man, Stephanie and Shane both finding out stuff, and not like it, and then that explains a lot more. Obviously, Vince would have then have spun it to well, my son only left because he got jealous because he didn't get the CEO position, and Stephanie left because she didn't have the power anymore. No, it wasn't about that. It was about because of what you were doing, So,
the interesting thing for me is, will Stephanie and Shane be held accountable if they did know about this stuff and didn't say anything, or will they end up,
they were powerless
testifying
in reality,
against Daddy,
Yeah. They were powerless in a lot of sense too back then. I mean, they probably were trying to do something, but Vince just had.
And the other side of it, is, could we see Shane possibly come back now that Daddy's gone?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because clearly Triple H wants him back in the fold, and he's got a good mind for it and stuff. I mean, just like Stephanie, grown up in the business, so he knows a thing or two.
Yep.
So man, it's going to be interesting.
And
time.
It sounds like morally he's better than Daddy, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just weird that. I mean, why would you try that if your son's turned around and said no? And his son's happily married. Shane's happily married with kids and everything, and here's his dad trying to get him to
be a scumbag.
Yeah, fighting him down from talking up about it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be really, really interesting going forward, and I think more will come out. I mean, even the Garcia twins have spoken out against it, which is, for those that don't know who the Garcia twins are, is Nikki and Brie Bella. There's been a few other females that have come out speaking now, probably because they feel safe and secure to be able to talk about things,
This was what I kind of alluded to earlier. People are going to start talking because they're going to have the freedom to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. But moving on to our final topic, which is the road to WrestleMania, looking ahead, and some of the
or as people have been calling it, the roads to WrestleMania.
The roads to WrestleMania. So Yobi's right. It does look at this stage, CM Punk's WrestleMania match is likely cancelled. he actually does have a severe injury. It might be an injury that needs surgery that clearly, if he has to have surgery this close to WrestleMania, is going to keep him out, unfortunately. So now, as I said, that throws everything up in the air for Seth, but I do think because they've already teased it, was it on last week's show? I think they'll easily just shift focus here and go from Punk versus Seth to Seth versus Gunter. Have Gunter win the Elimination Chamber. But other rumoured matches, obviously, and by the way it looks at the moment, so looks like Roman and Cody 2 for the Undisputed Universal title. It pretty much seems to be confirmed and completely set in stone. So that's one match that looks set. Another match that looks set and is anticipated, and they'll set it up. They've got time to set it up, but I think that's just what will happen. Io versus Bayley. I don't think Bayley's... I'll be surprised if Bayley decides to choose Rhea, because I think the story's already been there and put in place for Io. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, because we've seen teasers for the last, couple of months.
Yeah.
Which is another highly anticipated match. Seth and Gunter, obviously, is another anticipated match. Kevin Owens getting some revenge, building towards a rematch with Logan Paul, with the way that ended. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. You've still got Damian Priest with that brief. I'm telling you now, man. I'm telling you now, they really can't do what I'm thinking that might happen. But I really hope if he's going to cash in, it's going to be on Seth's world title and not. Oh, Cody just won. Now Damian's going to run down, cash in. I'll tell you now, the fans will not like that. But he's got to cash it in. And I have a feeling...
I've always wondered about that. We've always been kind of going, does he have to cash it in, or
Well, yeah, he has to cash it in before the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So he's still got... obviously, it won't happen to Eliminate, but he's still got WrestleMania. He's still got Backlash. Then I think it's Money in the Bank. He's got 2 pay-per-views that he could do it, but I just get this feeling that he will try and cash in at WrestleMania. I'm still leading that he'll go after the Raw World title. So maybe Gunter wins and then Damien comes down and cashes in on Gunter.
And Gunter cleans his clock.
Yeah, either that or they have Seth beat Gunter, but Seth is actually injured and I think he will actually need time off to heal. Then they have Damien come in and cash on him. It just needs to be for that. Because I tell you what, if they have it that he comes down and cashes on Cody after Cody's just taken 2 years to get there, that will not be good. So I don't think Damien's going to cash in on Cody. I really don't. They'll be stupid if they have it that way. People could live with him cashing in on Seth and winning, but I don't think it would be wise. I don't think it'd be wise to have him come and cash in on Cody. If they were going to do that, they should have done it last year. Have Cody win and then Damien. That would have been a different story. But because you've built this over 2 years now, and people have been waiting 2 years for him to finally finish the story, really to finish the story and lose it 2 seconds later would be absolute freaking travesty. But I also think
that would be finally them doing something we're not expecting.
Yeah.
Not in a good way, though.
Yeah, exactly. Leobi says after he recovers from his injury, I believe Shane will be back. Yeah, that's right. He did have a serious injury that he was recuperating from. But no, obviously there'll be more matches than these ones rumored. I think we'll find there'll be a multi-man match between Legado del Fantasma and the LWO at WrestleMania. They should, I think they do it at WrestleMania, have the Andre Battle Royal as well. Then you'll probably have Damien and Seth defend, unless they lose them sooner, defending their They're still the tag champions, aren't they? And Finn. Damien and Finn.
Yes, they
Yes, yeah.
do. They made a big deal about that tonight, as a matter
Yeah,
of fact.
so they'll probably have to defend their tag belts against another team or probably another couple of teams. You'll probably have a big match clearly with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits against Karrion Kross's new group. So yeah, there's a lot of different elements and matches that are clearly being built up to. You know what though? If if she had been a bit further along in her wrestling development, I personally would have loved to see Rhea against Jade Cargill. But
Oh, that'd be a heck of a match.
I think we're still going to get a heck of a match regardless. I think the rumoured match, we've seen them have that small interaction in the Rumble. I think we might actually get Jade versus Bianca Belair, which will be a heck of a match because they're both strong girls. So, and it was teased in the Rumble. They just didn't, just as they were about to start hitting each other. We see that many times, people having that stare off, and then next minute you think they're going to go at it and they get hit from behind by someone else. Ruins a bloody moment. But yeah, I think that's what they might lead to for her first feud is Bianca and Jade going at it, which as I said should be a great match if that's what happens. But obviously, before we get to WrestleMania, we've got the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that's hailing from Perth, Australia. Which should be great, especially for the Australian wrestlers like Rhea and Bronson Reed and Grayson Waller. They'll all clearly be on that card in some way, shape, or form.
You already got your tickets lined up?
Yeah, man, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it for sure. But that's going to be... I always love the Elimination Chamber. They're always really good matches. So I am going to be curious to see, because obviously, clearly, if they're building to Becky, the Becky's going to win that women's Elimination Chamber to take on Rhea. The men's one will be interesting. I just have this feeling that they're going to go with Gunther now, since that's the only other real sort of prominent opponent that they've teased for Seth outside of Punk. So I think, again, unless plans change, I think Becky will win the women's and Gunther will win the men's to get to their WrestleMania matches. I feel sorry for Punk. He's been wanting, he's been at WrestleManias, but he's never actually main evented one. And he was gonna at least main event one night here with Seth, and now that's gonna have to be put off clearly until the following year. But and I don't know how long he's gonna be out for. I think he'll be back at some point this year, but yeah. I do feel... I mean, it wouldn't matter if it was him or somebody else. Like, you're about to get a big moment on the big stage, and then an injury happens right at the wrong time. Poor guy, but he was really looking forward to that moment, and now he's gonna have to wait. But what's your thoughts, man? Any other matches you can see? Do you think something might happen between? It depends, obviously, clearly, if he's back in time from injury, between Dom and Ray, because they got to finish that. That's been a long
running story.
Yeah. So surely they got to have a match.
How many years has it been? Seriously.
I know. Yeah, if Ray's ready to go, surely they got to build something there, unless they're going to hold it off again, and Ray's going to have more something to do with that whole LWO against... Well, actually, probably will, considering he's got to come back to get revenge on bloody Santos. Because Santos took him out.
Right.
So, yeah, obviously...
Yeah, we've got to finish up the drama with Santos here, yeah.
Yeah, and then he can move back to his son. But they got to finish that story before Ray hangs it up, so maybe it happens at SummerSlam, maybe, once he gets past. As long as it happens at a bigger pay-per-view, it doesn't necessarily have to happen at a WrestleMania, but yeah. How are you feeling about Elimination Chamber WrestleMania?
I think if they do it right, it'll be, they could be very nice. I'm cool. What I find interesting now that Vince is gone, and creative is really, truly, totally Paul.
Yeah.
Unless Vince is going to be making side calls, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully, as we've said, they correct some of the mistakes they've been making, because some of us are getting bored with the same old here.
Yeah. Not wrong.
Seriously, I'm getting ready to go. I really don't care.
Yeah,
If it's just
exactly.
going to be more of the same, why am I going to watch this?
Yeah. No,
So
exactly.
I mean, that's
It definitely seems to be shaping up. Yeah,
yeah.
Elimination Chamber should be a good pay per view.
And like you said, Rhea may drop at Elimination Chamber, or she may not. But
No,
having
I think
having her
she.
drop in her hometown would not be unheard of.
No, no, no. I think she holds it until WrestleMania. I do. I think she'll drop it at WrestleMania to Becky Lynch, uh, and then Bailey will dethrone Io Sky. Then I think Gunter will, if he is indeed the plan, I think he dethrones Seth. As I said, unless the plan is for Seth to beat him and then Damien to dethrone Seth. Either way, Seth's going to lose the title, but so he can
Right.
go have time off. And then, as I said, Cody has to beat Roman. It's not an if but, mate. He has to beat. They have to have him win. Which, sorry, you're not getting Hogan's record. Sorry, if you had Punk win the Rumble, could have still happened and been on the cards, but they're gonna have to shift because there's no way you can. They built all the momentum they did last year and killed his momentum there for a little bit. He had to build himself back up. They can't do it to him again. They just can't.
Right.
You'll take the win this time around. You would literally take the win completely out of the sales, and then the fans won't be. The fans will lose interest just in the whole finish the story thing. They just will because they'll be like, "Well, really, we're gonna go through this for
Right. Yeah.
another year."
Yeah. We've been doing this for 2 years. Can we do? Yeah.
What's this? Yobi says, I
Yeah.
believe after this Tribal Chief storyline and Paul Heyman is out, would love to see Paul put on the creative writing team for SmackDown or Raw. He has great creativity and has a great mind. Yeah, he's been a writer for him before. He's been on the creative writing team before. He was actually the head writer and creative writer for SmackDown when Bischoff was the head creative writer for Raw. That was only a few years back. So yeah, I think he needs to take a step away from being in front of the camera, Paul Heyman, after this runs its course. Once Roman drops a belt and Roman's going Hollywood, there's really no need for Paul to be out there. And so Paul can just go backstage and have that creative role backstage because he's one of the best minds that they've got there. They've got him there now. They've got Regal there now. Obviously, Triple H clearly is a great creative mind himself. Shawn Michaels is a great creative. You got 4 guys right there that I just mentioned that are WWE's in safe hands as long as those 4 guys stick around from a creative storytelling, perspective. So, yeah, who needs Vince? Who needs Vince when you got these 4 guys? I actually think Paul Heyman's more creative than Vince McMahon, to be quite honest. Even with the ECW days, just the stuff that Paul could pull off. Paul would take risks that Vince wouldn't,
Right.
So, yeah, man, like, Elimination Chamber seems like it'll be good. WrestleMania, 2-night spectacle. So you got a lot of matchups. They're going to fill that card. I predict at least 7 matches on each card, at least. So 14 matches all up. Possibly 8 matches each, so 16 matches all up, because they've got a...
Yeah.
Each day is each day is 4 or 5 hours. So it's like 8 or 10 hours.
I think it was last year's though that they did the 2-night thing, and the first night was actually better than the second, I thought.
Yeah.
If I remember.
Well, they've been doing the
correctly.
2-night things because they started
Right.
copying Wrestle Kingdom, see, and that's
Right.
where they kind of got the idea from it. And
I just thought it fell apart when the first night was actually better than the second. It's like, oh God, don't do that. That's
no, but no, I mean, it's, as I said, it's shaping up well. I think this year's WrestleMania you're going to have some fantastic matches, booking wise. obviously a little bit more we'll know which direction a lot of them are going after the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Obviously, you got to have them. But the one I'm really most intrigued about is the from a story perspective is the whole Bailey one. Because they're all going to do it initially from a story. Oh yeah, you won. You got to go after Rhea. Then we can have both the women's titles in Damage Control. And then yeah, she's going to end up choosing Io, and I can't wait to see how that story breaks down because they'll all turn on her. Because it'll be Io, Dakota, Asuka, and Kyrie, and they'll all four of them will probably beat the crap out of her or something. And you've already seen the little intricacies and little drops of tension here and there for quite a while now, and it already seems like Bailey's on the outside looking in, and they all have they all talk in that language, and they have they have what's her name, like act as if she understands them too, and they all like and they're like looking at Bailey weird, and it's like, yeah, you're on the outside already, and you don't even know it. Like from a story point,
yeah,
And then because she always acts confused, like what are these two saying? Oh no, and then you have Io go, oh no, nothing, and Io will say something completely different to probably what they were actually saying because they're speaking in Japanese and that, and that's one of the more intriguing, interesting stories. But as I said, I'm glad Bailey won. It's someone new back up there. She's been a former women's champion before, but it's been a minute. And I was so sick of seeing the regulars in there, Charlotte, Bailey, Bianca. Charlotte, Bailey, Bianca. Bailey, like I said last week, deserves it. She works her butt off week in, week out. She's one of the hardest workers there. She's very underappreciated and underrated. I always felt she has been. But this whole character, even when they're not turning her back into the hugger, but they'll just move her towards being a babyface with still this more, aggressive character that she's built up, because it's really done wonders for her. I never thought back in the day, I've always liked her, but I never thought that she was going to be a main eventer doing the whole hugging gimmick. And I think she got a one title reign or whatever while she did that. I was like, no, she needs a change here, and I was so glad for the big change. And now she's just badass, and I still think people will get behind her, and they don't need to do much to tweak her character. You just have to tweak it a little bit when she goes to the good side. Man, the roar from the crowd, they were clearly behind her getting the victory too, which was great to see. So no, she's finally getting her props, and she's going to get that moment now, and her time to shine. This is her year, and she deserves. As I said, she's been working her tail off, and
see, personally, I don't like her as a heel. I don't think she works well as a heel. I just don't buy it.
I think she doesn't do too bad, like coming out.
Well, but to me, she just seems to be a soft heel more than anything, especially compared to the others. Yeah,
she's a ha ha ha, and she'll make fun of someone and that, but like sort of more in a sort of half serious, half joking manner kind of thing. Like, she's not like as in a darker heel like Asuka, for example, that plays much more darker type of heel. But no, I mean she works all right, but I think she needs to be like Stone Cold-esque, but female version, obviously, with her character. As I said, I don't want to see her be that hugger character again, like hugging everything and everybody, and that was just a bit too over the top playful. But she could definitely be like, as we like referring, you don't see enough of it these days. You're either a heel or you're a babyface. You don't see too many tweeners. The other person I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with is Drew. I don't know what direction they go with him from here. He should have a match, but I just can't see who and what, where he's going to fit in the card now. And he's been an interesting one because they clearly have tried to turn him heel, but then he hasn't really acted full-blown heelish. It's like a heel tactic, but then it's like, I'm like borderlining on a tweener, and I'm just my own man, and I'm only out for myself. And then he's been sort of going at it with the heels and the baby faces, and I've been
Yeah.
confused by his character. I really am. I'm like, are you bad? Are you good? Are you in between? What are we doing here with you? Like, it's sort of been all over the shop with him. So, but I mean, maybe they don't have much to do with him, for him, because he's going to leave after WrestleMania for a little bit. Still hasn't signed an extension or a new contract, so he clearly hasn't made his mind up what he's going to be doing. But his contract ends, I think, either the day of WrestleMania or the day after WrestleMania. So maybe he just enters in the Andre Battle Royal.
Yeah.
You know, gets a match up in there, and I don't know, give him his props, have him win it, and send him out with the Andre Cup while he goes and has a rest for a while. Hey, what's good, Dreadpool? What's good, brother? The man with the mythical beard. But yeah, I mean, some interesting storylines. Building up. What else have we got? Naomi herself's brand assignment's been revealed too.
Yeah.
So where's she going? She's she Raw or SmackDown? SmackDown, which makes sense.
Nice.
Makes sense because that's where her husband is. So they obviously want to keep her with her husband so they can travel together. What else is coming in here news-wise before we get on out of here? Spoiler plans for 2024 Women's Chamber match. So, the women's division is gearing up for an exciting chapter leading into WrestleMania 40 with significant development regarding the EC Premium Live event in Australia next month. According to PW Insider, the Women's Elimination Chamber match is set to take place at the event, and the winner of this high-stakes contest will earn a coveted opportunity to challenge Rhea Ripley. So there you go. We definitely know then, just from that statement alone, who Bayley's choosing. While the report suggests that several women will be competing in the Elimination Chamber match, still currently unclear who will be confirmed participants outside of Becky Lynch. However, two betting favourites to win it and have that championship opportunity are Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. But again, they haven't. Neither have been officially confirmed.
Right.
But what has been confirmed is the winner of that, which I had suspected was going to be the case. So, not exactly too much of a spoiler, is the winner will be taking on Rhea. That's going to be a chance to take on Rhea. Maybe. And that's another thing I just thought about. Maybe the plan is, if they're not going to have Gunther take on Seth, maybe Drew takes on Seth, considering he took out Punk on Raw.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of the two. Either I think Drew and Gunther will be in the men's elimination chamber, and it'll be one of those two that wins. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do over the next couple of months, and
right.
I still think things may twist a little bit now that things are, with the stuff going on in the background, as it were.
I love how they refer to Bron Breakker to the big bad booty nephew. But he's seemingly, that they're saying, since conquering NXT, he's definitely on his way to the main roster and should debut on the roster, on the main roster very soon.
Yeah, I think he's due. I mean, after what we saw the other day, he's definitely,
Well, and the thing is obviously on Raw this week, a major hint was dropped as to which brand he could potentially land on. So during the backstage segment with Adam Pearce signing the returning Andrade, much to SmackDown Nick Aldis's disappointment, however, just as it was made official, Aldis excused himself in the premises when his phone had stated that the call was from Bron Breakker. So maybe he's going to go from NXT to SmackDown. So
we could. I mean, from what we saw, some of that stuff. It's some of those people we saw the other night, Saturday. It's time for them to move up. You know. I mean, yeah. Unless you were just using them to hold, take places. I mean, because it seemed like that was the whole idea of putting Pat McAfee in there was just because they needed a 30th person. You know,
but
the Pat
yeah,
McAfee thing to me was just weird.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
But
actually surprised he didn't put some. They should have had him put somebody out, then leave the ring.
yeah.
I seriously, they should have just had him go up there, put somebody out, and then walk out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
No. See you later. I'm good. I'm good now.
Yeah, that to me that would have made it even better. Seriously, that would have.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's funny. Like even Pat McAfee had a joke saying if he had won the Rumble, he would have challenged Seth. Oh god, he's funny though. I do think he's good value. I mean, I don't think he really needed to be in the Rumble match, but he is good value, and I'm glad he's back as a permanent commentator because, as I said, he is actually quite good on the commentary team. So no, it's definitely interesting stuff heading forward. But that's all we got for you this week, folks. Great discussions. Again, we had a lot to unpack. Yeah, should be really, really good heading into WrestleMania. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to, man. A lot to look forward to. And, yeah, no, it's going to, think be one of the better WrestleManias, I think. As long as the outcomes go the way that they really probably it's not even what I think, it's just probably the way they should go. You know, as I said, with them paint themselves into a corner now with Cody.
Yeah,
you got to have him win. You got to have him win. You really do. Because if you don't,
I hate to be that guy, but if they screw Cody over again and it's just more of the same, I'm going to be like, nope, I'm done for a while.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm like,
yeah. So if they don't, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is. It's ridiculous if they don't. So we will see, man. We will see. I'll even be devastated if they don't. If they don't have him win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be all lost as to what the hell they're going to do. Because as I said, I've said for the longest time, like, the whole storyline's got stale now. People are bored of Roman. That title, with each day that passes, loses credibility.
And I'm serious. If Roman doesn't want to be there, don't make him be there. Fine. I mean,
yeah.
If he's got other stuff to do.
Yeah. No, exactly. So it's just, yeah. It obviously we're not going to know until WrestleMania, but look, I really hope that they finish the story because, as I said, I think people are even starting to not get sick of Cody, but getting sick of, like, they wouldn't be able to drag that out for a third year.
Yeah.
Like, they'd just lose interest. They'd be like, we want to see him finish the story, but god damn, when is he going to finish the story? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and look, me and you both said the last time, I think it was even last year, realistically, to make a big deal out of this, he needs the win at WrestleMania. You can't get a bigger deal than that. And regardless that we know for this latter half of the reign he sat at home, but from the story point of ending a legendary reign, has more significance for him to dethrone Roman in that reign at WrestleMania than any other pay-per-view.
Yep.
It just won't have
and they kept making a note of it. Winning at WrestleMania would be something his father never did.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. You know, I know SummerSlam's a big deal for the summer, but it's just not. It's not WrestleMania.
No.
So it just wouldn't have that historical feeling about it and stuff like that. And I can tell you, the minute he wins it, Oh, he's gonna break down, man. You're gonna see some tears of joy. Like
Yep.
and he's put in the work. This time around too, like he came in number 15, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So you were
Jay
saying you
Uso.
thought he should have come in at the beginning and ran the whole thing, but I think doing it halfway through was plenty enough.
Well, he was still in there for a long. I think he was
Yeah,
in there for the second longest minutes, just behind Jay
he
Uso.
was. Yeah. Yep.
Jey Uso was doing the Iron Man thing himself. But no, he really did earn it this time around. So no fan out there could say, "Oh no, he came in at number 30," and they made him earn it. He came at number 15, and he stayed in there for well up over 40 minutes. I know that when they kept showing the timer. So he it needs to happen, and I think. And I'd like to believe now that they've made, especially in the last few weeks, a bigger deal out of the whole finish the story thing, especially because he's the cover star of the game, and again the messaging in that is to finish the story, and they made a big deal out of in the trailer for it to show Roman breaking his heart last year. I think
Yep.
there's been more focus on this whole finish the story in the last few weeks than there has been in the whole of the last 12 months, because before it we were just hearing more about Roman and how they wanted him to beat Hogan. Now that's kind of died down. It's shifted back to Cody finishing the story. So maybe as we're all unaware that maybe recently, maybe in the last few months, plans decided to change, and Paul Heyman maybe discussed with Hunter and said, look, we know what the initial plan was. We were going to try and draw this out, have Roman, defeat this, but look, we need to give Cody the win, And besides that, I mean,
Yeah.
if Roman's got Hollywood aspiration, let him go off to do it. I mean, the man's almost 40, or if
yeah.
not, he is 40.
Yeah. I also, like I said, I get the feeling that Roman really doesn't want to be there. I mean, if he did, he'd be there. If he wanted to be there, he'd be there.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, man. I think he wants to go and do some Hollywoods, do something a bit different. He's had a nice reign. He'll finish, as I said, third on the all-time list. That's pretty damn good achievement, being in that top three. So yeah, and now it's someone else's turn. Cody, as I said, only thing I hope is when they have Cody win, at least give him a decent reign. Don't have him drop it the next night or straight after or a month later. I want to see, God, at least a 6-month reign for him. At least a 6-month reign for him.
Mhm.
I know they're not going to probably do any of these real long-ass title reigns again. I think the longest you may see from now on, maybe 12 months. You may get away with doing a 12-month title reign, but, which I think Cody's earned a 12-month title reign, but at the very, very least, I want to see 6 months for him. At least.
Right.
He's had to fight and claw and go through what he's gone through for 2 years. The least you could do is give him a 6-month reign, especially if you want to start. Roman's going away for a bit. You want to start pushing him as the Cody as the new John Cena of this era, basically, in the face, and doing all the marketing and the interviews and the promotion, and being the world champion kind of helps with that. He's the guy, he's the man, as Ric Flair would say. So, yeah, no, looking forward to it, man. But, yeah, again, as I said,
Yep.
I wasn't too overly happy with the Rumble. It had its moments, but definitely the women's match was the best match, I thought, and at least had more of the surprise. I wasn't expecting, once that I started hearing the sirens for number 5, I knew instantly, because I watched TNA. I was like, what the hell? I was like, that's Jordan Grace. What the heck? And then she come running out. I was like, oh, hot damn, it is Jordan Grace. Okay. So, no, that was cool, man. And as I said, she lasted longer in there than I expected. I thought, she might be in there for a little bit, and then someone's in it. But she actually lasted longer than I thought, which was good to see, I mean, at the end of the day, she might not be one of your champions, but she is a woman's champion in the business. And she's... You see the size of the woman, so you got to kind of make her look strong, and especially if you want to build, and continue to build that sort of, even if it's just an on and off, here and there relationship with TNA. You don't want to just bring in one of their top superstars and have them completely sort of squashed or whatever. So I thought how they handled her in that Rumble was good. And so yeah, it was really really. But Jordan Grace was a spectacle to see. Title
Yeah,
looked great on her waist, man. Yeah, I know. She makes the title look little though. But hey, she's bigger than her husband, bro. Her husband's like not only a short man, but he's taller than her, which is funny. Oh
see, I
man.
think to add a little bit of you don't know what's going to happen because you can almost telegraph this whole thing with the Rumble. It'd be really cool if they really truly randomized the number picks of who went in. You know, maybe they could do that like a month before the Rumble, and then that'll
Yeah.
give them time to script it out. But it'd be funny
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah, for
that
sure.
way. It's that part of it's totally random. You know,
I
so
like
you
that
know,
idea, Yobi, too. He says, can you imagine both Royal Rumbles in the future being opened up globally to the top stars outside of wrestling? I mean,
wow,
excluding AEW, like getting in both the men's and women's Royal Rumble, getting some of TNA's top stars, New Japan's top stars, some of Triple A's top stars. That would be
yeah.
cool to see. You know, I know there was a lot of rumors. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I was still kind of hoping that we would have seen a Carter man show up. But now I'm more inclined to think maybe there might be a deal that just hasn't been announced yet already there with AEW. Same with Mercedes Monet. I think they both might be signing with AEW, which if I was their agents, I'd say was a stupid thing to do. They'd be better off staying in New Japan or signing with TNA over that, but that's just my opinion. Um, but yeah, that's where I feel like is happening. But Okada, look, there's still a slight chance there while there's nothing being officially announced. As I said, his best friend Shinsuke Nakamura, so maybe Okada does sign with W. And he, as I said, like on last week's show, I believe it was, I was saying to Paul, when you watch Okada's stuff in New Japan, yeah, he can wrestle that stiff side, but out of everybody in New Japan, he did really wrestle a WWE stylized, you know, way of wrestling and moveset. So I think WWE really would maximize and add to his legacy rather than toiling over in AEW. You know, he might get treated like a big superstar for 5 seconds until, you know, Mr. Markman Khan decides, no, but he's not one of my original baby boys. So, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, and then of course you got Osprey over there and, oh, that company's a freaking mess. That company's a mess.
I just keep hoping they're going to get their shit together because it'd be sad to see it go away.
Oh, man. I mean, this is why I'm just glad TNA's on the uprise. I really am. At least if it does go away, at least TNA's on the uprise. And as I said, TNA's got better management. They've got better creative. So it's a bit better competition, even if they do working stuff with WWE. But yeah, because Tony Khan clearly doesn't like WWE, he won't ever do any deals with WWE to bring his superstars in. It's not a chance. But at least TNA will, because Scott D'Amore is more open to working with people. You know, TNA
Right.
now that's twice that they've worked with WWE, because I think it was either last year or the year before. Mickey James was in the Rumble, and she was the current TNA Women's Champion at that point in time as well. So they're willing to work with WWE. They're willing to work with AAA in Mexico and New Japan. Like, TNA is a really good company to keeping you back, as I said, and you could get some dream matches happening. I mean, they got some good talent over there. Actually, their roster's starting to become, on paper, slowly, might not be fully there yet, but slowly becoming better than the roster that AEW's got. Especially once, you know, Sting retires and Danielson's finished wrestling at the end of this year or sometime this year. And Edge, you know, I think once he's done with his run with however long he signed for, I think that'll be it for him. He's already in his 50s, and I'm quite sure he doesn't want to do too much to the bad, you know, to where he'll hurt his neck again or anything like that, you know, and so he's
Well, he's busy playing Ares on
yeah.
the Disney Channel too. So
Jericho's almost done, and I've said it before. I think Jericho may come back for a small, little, short stint in WWE just to get his Hall of Fame ring anyway. You know, once they go, those names I mentioned, really, what's AEW got to draw you in? They've got nobody. You know, I know. Look, as I said, I'm a fan of Will Ospreay. I'm a fan of Kenny Omega, but they're not known to the greater audience unless you're a New Japan fan. They're just not. You know, to me, they're a big deal, but to most fans that probably only watch WWE, they're like, Kenny who, Okada who, Will Ospreay who, like they don't know them. You know, and as I said, like they thought by getting Edge, Adam Copeland was going, but it hasn't. I think it's more because one, he can't use Edge, but two, like same with Jericho. Jericho just doesn't have that pull anymore. He doesn't, not like he used to. He's not the draw, hence why the only draw that they've really, even Danielson going over there. I thought initially, oh, you know, people are going to, nah, it hasn't been like it was for WWE with him, you know, and the only draw that they've ever had has been Punk, you know.
Yep.
I think, and I want to give him credit, I think Samoa Joe really now is their only draw that they've got, and no, while he might not be the draw of, say, you know, your AJ Styles or your Rollins or your Romans or your Randys, he's at least on their roster probably the most well-known one because, one, he had his good stint in WWE and he had big stints, you know, when TNA was at their biggest, you know, back in that time. But apart from that, he's also entered into the mainstream because he's gone into acting and he plays Sweet Tooth in Twisted Metal. So apart from that, and he's doing the voice of King Shark in the Suicide Squad game.
Yeah, I saw that today.
So
yeah,
he's really the only draw. I mean, not even Moxley draws for him. He really doesn't. And by turn around saying that these guys aren't draw doesn't take away that they're fantastic wrestlers and entertainers, but they're just not the draw cards.
right.
WWE really has all the draw cards. They have an abundance of them.
Yeah.
So outside Samoa Joe and to a degree, and but he's still working his way up to that level. MJF, they really haven't got anybody. They really don't. So yeah, it's a lot. As I said, I keep saying all the time, a lot's got to change, but I don't think Tony's going to get out of his own way, and that's going to be the downfall. And if it gets to a point and Shad Khan pulls his side of funding, Tony's going to be up shit's creek without a paddle. You know? As I said, I know Tony's got a bit of money to play with of his own money, but it's not Shad Khan type of money.
No, but you know what? But that might be a good thing for him too, making him draw back and actually focus on, you know, story and writing and, you know.
Yep. As I said, yeah. Obviously, we're going in a completely different direction to what Cody thought you were all going in. That's why Cody said, "See you later, goodbye." I'm out of here. I'm getting out while the going's good.
I still think that probably hurts Cody a little bit though, because that was his baby. You know, that was.
Yeah, well, technically, even before the Young Bucks and Kenny even got on board, it was his idea in the very, very first place. He was the one who was having thoughts about that type of stuff. And then because he was friends with the Young Bucks, he mentioned his thoughts to them, and they started collectively thinking. And, you know, I just hate how the Young Bucks take it. Oh, you know, it was our idea. No, at the end of the day, it was Cody's idea that then became, as you were known as the Elite's idea. But still, at the end of the day, it was still Cody's initial idea.
Yeah.
But, and then, of course, it was Tony Khan's money that helped make it a reality. But Tony Khan's kind of just ruining it, fortunately. It is what it is. But again, people, thank you everybody who's joined us tonight. Trin in the chat, as always. Appreciate your love. The legendary one himself, Mr. Peace, Love, Life, Yobi. Of course, Timmy was in here earlier. Dreadpool, my brother with the mythical beard, up in here. It's forever growing. Of course, Bushy. Great to see Bushy in here early. Always good to chat it up and have a laugh with Bushido. And of course, Back from the Dead as well. Always great to see the family and everybody in here. We appreciate you all. We appreciate always the support, and cannot thank you all enough. But Paul, Did you want to let the fine folks know everywhere they can find you, sir?
Yep. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Cerebral Paul 1, Twitch at Cerebral Paul Mondays, and with Thursdays, you can find me here on 4GQ TV. And then on Tuesdays, you can find me on the Xbox Ambassador channel at 12:30 p.m. Pacific at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, I will be playing a RoboCop Rogue City, which is on sale right now in the Xbox store.
Love it.
Um, and then on Tuesday night, you can find me with the Retro Renegades with that lovely crowd. And
Yeah.
on Fridays, you can find me wasted with Wise.
Oh, nice. There you go. Where they get wasted.
Yeah.
And of course, you find me everywhere under the Moon Man, the man with the stars. And of course, here every Monday evening with the Cerebral one, or as Carlo likes to refer to him as the Pineapple Man, with the Pop-Up Powerbomb each and every week. I think, is it this weekend that the NXT pay-per-view is? So we'll be able to cover it next week.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
if I
pretty
recall
sure.
correctly.
Another
Yeah.
pay-per-view coming up this week, folks. For those that are interested, should be another great one. NXT's pay-per-views are always great to watch, and should be an interesting match between the Dragon and whoop that trick. Of course,
Yeah.
for the NXT title. Should be amazing. Apart from that, you can catch me every Wednesday evening as well with Chuck Magic and Ryan with the Backlog Bastards. Sure we will have some interesting topics this week. I know one that's out there at the moment is Suicide Squad, which I predicted has had a rocky debut. They even pulled its service down. Jesus. The problems of a live service game, hey? This is why I've said the whole time they need to hurry up and get out that offline single player because, yeah, they're having a bit of a rough start, unfortunately. But, yeah, this Wednesday evening, catch us live here on the channel. Of course, hit the like button if you haven't already. If you also haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I encourage it a lot. There's a lot of great content on here from these two pods that I've just mentioned, the 4GQ pod, which is on Thursdays, and of course Paul and Carlo doing some fantastic interviews with everyone of all walks of life, whether they're from the movie industry. They recently did a really cool interview with a former bookie to the mob. Yeah, you can think about it. They probably got an interview for it, and many more upcoming. And of course, last but certainly not least, the all women's pod as well with Mahama, Cozy Beluga, and Dreadpool's lovely wife, Death Dealer. So do check that out. Hit the notification bell, and you'll know when content's either put up or someone is going live. But until next time, folks, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of the wrestling for the week. We will all right back here. Good night, everybody.